All right, I think we are good to go. I will request all the speakers to please turn on the camera. And so, hi everyone, I am Agrima, and on behalf of Team Open Innovator, a huge welcome to today's session on ethical AI. So, j- uh, before we start the session, here's a fun thought, or more like a stat. Did you know it took telephone 75 years to reach 100 million people, while it took ChatGPT just 2 months to reach that many users? That's how fast the technology is moving, and that's exactly why ethics can't afford to lag behind. Because when the innovation runs fast, we all need to ask, how can we make sure that it's moving in the right direction? And that's what today's session will bring on. For those who all are joining for the first time, hello from Open Innovator team. We are a community that brings together innovators, industry leaders, investors, and researchers to exchange ideas and co-create. We believe the future isn't built in silos. It's built through collaboration and conversations like this. Every month, we host these dialogues that spark meaningful discussions about how we are shaping the world with technology and innovation, and this is what this session brings. So, just to give you an overview, what today brings on. In next 60 minutes, first we will be starting with a power-packed panel discussion with our global leaders who are driving the shift from move fast to and break things to move smart and build things right. Today's session, these global voices will be talking about responsibility meeting innovation and how AI governance and ethics can truly ex- coexist by design. And then we will be switching gears to an exciting segment, our starter spotlight segment. This is where the innovation will get real. You will meet an innovator who will be showing that a tech that both impresses and inspires. So I request you all, to stay with us as you can't afford to miss that segment. And one more disclaimer before we start the session. This is not a sit quietly, listen Netflix kind of session. We want to hear from you guys. So let's keep the chat buzzing. Let's drop our thoughts, reactions, and questions as we go. And just to, start this engagement over the chat, I would request you all to tell us where you all are joining from and one word that comes to your mind when you think about ethical innovation. And with that, let's kick things off. We have got an incredible discussion planned ahead, and to lead it I would like to welcome Naman Kothari. He would be moderating today's panel and guiding this powerful conversation. Naman, the screen is all yours now.
Well, thanks so much, Agrima. Perfect setup for the conversation, I would say. And hey, everyone, I am Naman. Great to have you all with us today. Well, do we have all our speakers on the screen? I can see Ahmed, Yaqub, yes, Mehdi, Apurv. So Bilal. All right. So we are waiting for Bilal. But anyway, welcome everyone. And today we are talking about something I would say every tech builder needs to think about, ethics by design. And to unpack this properly, we have got a stellar panel of voices from Riyadh, Doha, Qatar, Prague, and US, right? So let me quickly bring in our speakers so you all know who's with us today. We have Ahmed Al Tukair from Riyadh. So he's a founder, mentor, and someone who's seen, behind the scene chaos of early stage startups. Welcome, Ahmed. And we have Mehdi, right? Mehdi, a global voice, and he's joining us from Doha, CEO of SeedSpad, building ecosystem across regions. This is his second time with Open Innovator. We are very pleased to have you, Mehdi.
My pleasure.
Bilal, we are expecting Bilal as well. Bilal, who will be joining us from Qatar shortly. And right now we have with us Jakub Bers. He is leading Software 3.0 architecture at World Health Organization. Joining us from Prague. A beautiful. All right. We have Jakub. right? So to kick things off, I want to start with without further ado, with a foundational question, something that sets the tone for the entire conversation, right? So ethics in tech. We talk about ethics in tech, and which is everyone's responsibility, but whose responsibility is it first? I also see Apoor on the screen, right? Apoor, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he is founder of one of the leading AI startup called Aurva. So he'll also take the center stage shortly during the conversation. While we start with our first question, I would like to bring in Ahmed first. Ahmed, let me start with you. Since tech outpaces regulation, what do you think? My direct question to you is, what do you think should carry the first responsibility? Is it the founders like Apoor? Is it the designers? Are is it investors, policymakers? And to be precise, what does ethics by design personally mean in your world?
Uh, First, thank you for having me on this panel. I really appreciate it. Uh, to be honest, I believe ethics is a shared architecture. It's not a single design's responsibility. Founders define intent, investors shape incentives, designers translate those values into human experiences, and of course, policymakers set those boundaries that protect public interest. One of those pillars failed, the system loses balance. That's why I see ethics not a single actor's duty, but a collective accountability framework that connects everyone in this ecosystem, evolving around creating innovation. For me personally, at Raya Innovations, when we talk about ethics by design, we mean building responsibility into the product. Logic itself is not a later stage audit possibility. From ideation, we test those ventures from two dimensions: the market fit, of course, but also from a social ethics perspective. Does it have a clear path? Will it be biased or harm anyone? Before a single line of code, we ask ourselves, if this scales, what unintended consequences could emerge? For us, ethics is a part of our validation criteria, the same way traction, market size, and the first customer survey. So ethics by design for me isn't about slowing innovation at all. It's about building companies that stand the test of time, both commercially and morally.
Well, there you have it. Building companies that stands the test of time. Love that take, Ahmed. Right. And now let's hear a cross-regional perspective. So we'll move to Mehdi now. Mehdi, your work. We have gone through a profile. We've been following your work. So your work across cultures and markets, right? So from your lens, what should lead the responsibility, or rather, who should lead the responsibility in embedding ethics at a quite an early stage? And how do you interpret ethics by design, our today's topic? How do you see this? Mehdi,
Lovely,
over to
lovely,
you.
Naman. So first of all, I would like to thank you for this amazing topic, and I believe is surely a needed topic in this age where technology, as Agrima just shared earlier, is faster than the regulation. And I totally agree with my brother Ahmed. He said that that's a common responsibility and a shared responsibility between all and every stakeholder in the scene. And probably it goes beyond just the founders and venture capitals and the designers and engineers and the policymakers. Actually, it covers every and single partners in this bigger scene. And again, I cannot stress more and further on the importance of this topic, because even ourselves today, not only as an active players in the entrepreneurship scene, but always or also as a user. So even ourselves dealing with social media, dealing with all of these applications, we face some of the big questions about what's behind or who is behind those social medias and what's their agenda. And in a way or another, we need to make sure that we don't violate what certain standards or what they set as the rules for us, even though in many times those rules could not be an ethical things to follow. So again, going back to your main questions, yeah, as I said, so Ahmed said that the founders are the one who put the vision. Yes, I totally agree in this. So probably they transfer these visions to their team, whether they are engineers, designers, and all of the parties of the team, the startup companies. Now probably investors, capitals, venture capitals, funds, they do have what I call by the financial leverage to make sure that all ethics, I may say, mandatory due diligence items is covered. So, and this is by making sure and through like a proper communication with the founders that they need to make sure that the solution is ethical and capture the different aspects, starting from the financial, technical into the ethical part, as I said, and policymakers for sure, which they will always be a regulator in such a scene. The second part of your questions, you've asked me like how probably do I see the or what does it mean the applying ethics in technology here. So for me, I may simply make a summary in just 3 words. So it needs to be, first of all, like it's a human centric. So always whatever technology that we bring on table, it needs to be around or centered around the human. Like earlier in the age, for us, like technology as a definition is whatever tools that helps a human being. So if this tool is start to be as a threat for us, then I don't think any longer this is what technology is. If it's a threat, if it's something that's not helping us, then absolutely it may not be defined as technology, even though it does. It needs to be transparent. So me as a user, I need to know what are the data that I'm going to share with you, and how are you going to use this data, and all of that things is very important. And the most important part, I believe, that the accountability. So we need to make sure that the founders, the policy makers, they are accountable for their solutions and for their law. If we make sure that 3 things are implemented in our industry, then we can leverage the fact of applying an ethical approach in our day-to-day tech development.
Well, there you have it. The word has been said out loud and clear. Spot on, Mehdi. Right. And I was just while you were just sharing some of the pointers, I was checking Apoorv. He was making notes, and we would now shortly go to Apoorv and to understand the founder's perspective. But before that, Apoorv, let's hear a voice from a global public health perspective. We would like to bring in Jakub. Jakub, joining us from Prague, right? And your work influences public health systems, right? And we've been following your work on LinkedIn also. So where do you believe ethical responsibility should ideally starts, and how do you personally define, ethics by design?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for welcoming me again in this panel. It's really a pleasure. So, I mean, I look at it as a human-centric technologist, right? So, my perspective is really algorithmic, kind of. And I think when we are moving to this new era where computer systems are essentially taking over a little bit, I think it's really critical that we are able to put our values and our ethics into the algorithms as well, right? So that's kind of my perspective, and so we have been trying to implement in WHO maybe 15 apps in the last half year with our team, and what we managed to do is always figure out a new way how to use the LLMs in some creative manner. And it's always interesting how it changes the role of the human, right? So as others mentioned, that is really critical interface there. What is the role of the human in the new system, in the new process that is taking over? And so I really think that ethics by design is essentially this new world where you are turning um, your values and the way you want the world to look like. You are turning that into explicit code, testable requirements, architecture patterns. And so in our practice, I will talk about this later. I was thinking like where can I show this, how this actually works in our case. So I want to talk about the donor reporting app which we created, where we are essentially helping our donors understand our successes and how we are serving their purpose. And we need to be obviously extremely, persuasive. We need to be extremely precise. There is so much going on in WHO, and we need to put the best pieces out of that to the report. So essentially, in our case, what we have focused on the most is epistemic integrity, making sure that the AI doesn't hallucinate, and making sure that everything is backed up with facts, right? Human autonomy, that's what others talked about, that like the humans need to feel safe in this new process. They can't be pressured too much by performance, and we need to allow them to perform their best with all their creativity they have, right? And yeah, and then other aspects I can talk about later. But essentially, the main logic is that you have some performance goal,
Mm-hmm.
which is always there. Obviously, you implementing the AI for some reason. You are trying to save cost and so on. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you don't disrupt the work environment, the human safety, how they feel in the company. You can't disrupt the quality, obviously, because you are replacing experts who have been there for 20 years with something which is brand new. So always needs to. It's about checks and balances. It's about making sure that whatever you are trying to achieve is balanced. You are always checking whether all the metrics, all the performance, all the quality aspects are at the right level, and
Right.
you are not deteriorating in any way, right? So those are my perspectives on this topic. Yeah.
No, well said, well said. Thanks, Jacob. That's the high stakes view we needed. So thank you for that. With this, we'll now take the founder's perspective, someone who's on ground building it from zero. So, Apur, I would like to bring you in with the scale at which, you have built products. Uh, my question to you is who should take ownership of embedding ethics on day zero? And actually, having known you for since a few years now, what does ethics by design mean to you as a founder of a leading AI powered startup solution?
Cool. Thanks, Naman. So I think first of all, I would cover the perspective that I have seen previously while working at Facebook. Of course, like Meta or Facebook wasn't the best known company when it comes to ethical building earlier. But post Cambridge Analytica, definitely they spent a lot of resources into building the right tools, right processes, wherein ethics, privacy, security, customer protection came into picture before even building things. But fundamentally, I do believe what Facebook did really well and what we have been trying as well, and is that no company cares about ethics as much as business. So ethics can never be a blocker to the business. It has always has to go hand in hand with business, basically with the business growth. So fundamentally, like ethics, security, privacy, protection, right? Everything needs to be embedded into the workflows. Uh, we need to ensure that we have systems in place, processes in place that aren't a blocker. A very simple example, at this point, every CEO in every large company across the globe has asked every team to start using AI in some way or the other, start building AI products, start building agents, right, which can
Right.
automate, save costs, right,
Right.
increase the efficiency. And fundamentally, like the best thing that everyone can do is actually monitor what is being done, right, so that the right processes can be built around it, right. So ethics by design, according to me, means that you are actually able to monitor everything really well. You are not a blocker as a team, as a person, as an entity to anything that is being done. And ethics, GRC, security is an enabler to the business. So the right word here is more like latent monitoring, and then like doing the right reviews at the right time based on what is being done, so
Mhm.
that there's no business impact.
Well, that's an interesting perspective, Apur. Thank you, thank you. And we see Bilal on screen. Welcome, Bilal. Welcome. So, Bilal, are you there? Can you
Hello.
hear us?
Yeah,
Hi,
so sorry about
hi,
being
Bilal.
late. Had a little
So, Bilal, we
emergency
have
on the
we have
way
a
here.
question. We have a question ready for you. We won't give you time to settle. Just direct question. So, how do you interpret ethics by design, Bilal?
Actually it's a near and dear topic to myself. I think it's extremely important to think about ethics from the get-go when you're starting to build a brand new product. The reason I say that is from my experience working on Microsoft for so many years. There was a point of time where transparency, ethics, and privacy rules has kind of, you know, just got like to become a very big topic around the world all of a sudden around like 2018, 2017 timeframe. Having to retrofit large products that already served customers for so many years caused so many disruption to Microsoft business and other enterprises. Um, Thinking about it in retrospective from that perspective is if our features were designed from the get-go with privacy, with ethics models and audits and reviews, we would have saved probably millions of dollars in retrofitting products. So for sessions like this, when we're talking to startups and founders, I really highly encourage embedding ethics requirements, embedding ethics reviews, embedding ethics at design from the get-go, because it's very tough to put it again later, right? So think of it don't think of it as a batch. Don't think of it as like I'm going to build my MVP and not think about ethics. And then, once I find a market fit, then I'll go and do it. And then you're busy kind of scaling your customer base, and then you don't do it. And then 2 or 3 years down the road, you have enough customers, and now ethics is a problem for you, bias is a problem for you, and now your whole company trust is down the drain, and that becomes a very big problem for you. Many companies has done that. I have a famous example. Google, for example. Google started with Google Glass, inserting a camera on the lens and just like going around and interpreting what it sees and just recording everybody without their consent. Spent billions of dollars on that innovation. Talked about it for many years. I mean, the people from my age and probably knows in like 2010 to 2020 that was the biggest deal. Google's coming up with Google Glass. So when they released the dev kit, because they didn't think about ethics, because they didn't think about privacy, because they didn't think about this. That was the only thing that took Glass down, right? Everybody was talking about it. Why are you recording me without my consent? Where is the consent? Well, how is it handling the data? How is it? To the point that Google has to scrap billions of dollars worth of investment because they didn't do ethic review at the beginning. So if you're building something, build it by design. Don't do it later. It's super expensive to do it later, and you're jeopardizing your startup or your company reputation if you don't do it. So ethic by design, it's a feature, not an option. So think about it.
Certainly, it's not an option, it's a feature. Very, very, very nicely put. So thank you, Bilal. And with this, we have come to a first round of discussion, which was an exciting discussion that has set the context and base for the further rounds. For the next round, I would like to go a bit deeper and bring out individual experiences. Each of you works in very different environment and ethics, I would say, play out differently in each of those. So let's explore how ethics actually show up in your day-to-day decisions. I'll start with Ahmed. Ahmed, you work closely with early stage founders, and with early stage founders, speed is everything. So they need to speed scale up team, they need to sell their products. There are a lot of things that speed matters. So how can startup grow fast and stay ethical at the same time without feeling the need to slow down?
I mean, speed is important, but speed without direction is just noise. Startups often equate ethical consideration with bureaucracy, but in reality, ethics can be designed for speed if it's operationally uh, correct input. At Raya, at least, we use what we call structured speed. It's not about moving fast and breaking things, it's about moving fast with evidence. So, what that means basically is it's an integration with a light, repeatable ethical checkpoints into the same agile validation sprints we have using from those product sprints. So, for example, when building a data feature, we include the 15-minute impact check. We be like, okay, what's the worst way this could be misused? When designing onboarding flows, we only not test usability, but also fairness. Are certain users being excluded or manipulated by default choices? When choosing partners or vendors, or assess even clients, the price or the approach needs to be aligned with our own principles. You don't need an ethical committee. You just need a clear path of non-negotiable set of rules. The best founders I've worked with made their ethical code a part of their startup DNA. It became a competitive advantage, not at a cost. Ethical responsibility isn't a brake, it's a steering wheel. Thank you.
Great point, Ahmed. And I've made my notes that speed without direction is pointless. So yes, that is some point to ponder. And with this, let's move into how ethics shift across cultures. So Mehdi, you represent an organization called Seedspad, right? You're built at this organization that works across very different economies, right? Be it Asia Pacific or be it in Europe, and different cultures at the same time. So my question to you is, how do these differences shape what people consider as ethical technology? What do you think the differences of culture and economies shape this ethical technology tag?
Thank you, Naman, for this question. So first of all, I need to say that I believe that every human being on this globe, they're supposed to have the same traits when it comes to the ethic consideration from companies. Why I'm saying this? Because as you said, I'm seeing like a certain approach, certain strategy applied by companies in Europe, for example, is different than in Africa, is different than in USA, is different than in Asia. So, and this is, it depends because there are different legal framework in different countries and continent. Now, in my point of view, and I made it clear that I believe that this ethic or ethical, I may say, process supposed to be the same everywhere. However, like from what I've noticed walking in different countries and different places. So, for example, when we talk about the cultural impact, when we do speak about the Western Europe countries, North America, they are more or less oriented toward the individual privacy. And you can note this if you try to download whatever application in Europe. So they will literally tell you that they're going to use the data in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and downloading the same application. Probably in one of the African countries, you will never see such a thing. It's completely different. That consent form is completely different. So in those Western countries, they do care more about the the privacy of their individuals. Now, moving to the probably many parts in Africa and Asia, it's more into the societal harmony, the collective security. So that's the thing that they are focusing. So they want to make everything stable, everything is going smoothly. So it's all about the collective security. It's not about the individual security. So that's a big difference between both parties. Now probably why this is happening is because of the legal framework. So again, in Europe, in North America, is always like the framework and the laws, it demands that whoever is developing such a solution to take into consideration all of these points. However, these requirements are a bit lighter when it comes to other world. Now, in economically speaking, now for when we talk about the emerging and growing economies, here we are talking more or less about the accessibility, about providing maybe the opportunity, about the inclusion in general. So I need to make sure whatever product that I'm providing is inclusive product. Yet when we talk about the more developed economies, here more or less when we talk about the ethics, so we covering the risk mitigation of whatever threats that can happen to the users. And this is because they are more or less oriented to the individual protection, as I said earlier. Yet, in my point of view, we're supposed to treat everyone alike, wherever and whoever is he in this globe. We're supposed to have the same ethics that applies the same way everywhere, but unfortunately, that's not the reality.
Well, that's pretty interesting angle, Mehdi. Certainly, ethics actually isn't one size fits all thing, right? And with this, I would like to bring in Bilal to discuss and talk more on the enterprise scale level product building, which is altogether a different ball game. So Bilal, when you are building, enterprise products under constant pressure, scale, customers, speed, how do you prevent? I'll use the word. How do you prevent ethics from getting lost in the race?
So fortunately, recently, as you know, as the world has evolved, thinking more about like non-biased data uh, and and the impact of bias and the impact of non-ethical practices, enterprises has taken note in their books here to start creating what we call the frame of tenants. So the frame of tenants is aside from creating your feature set, every feature set has to be signed off by different groups. Different groups are concerned about privacy, security, accessibility, localization, globalizability, geopolitical checks and stuff like that. In different companies, they have a different set. They might have different names for them, but they can go up to 12 tenants, as far as I've seen, that they have to sign off and do reviews per feature. So we're not talking about small features and stuff like that, but we're talking about you do one at the initial product evaluation. So when there's a brand new idea or a brand new product that we want to introduce to the market, we go through a full-on review. Every team member has a bunch of questions around like, okay, well, how are you handling data transparency? How are you handling data anonymization? How are you using the data? It's more like when you submit something to like the Apple Store, not so much the Google Store, but the Apple Store. You have a million questions around what are you doing with the data and how you're handling it, how you're handling it at transit, at rest, where storage, how it's encrypted, who has access to it, what is the all this kind of stuff, right? So what we do is we have these type of checks that every new product has to pass. They go and present, pitch their idea to the security team, to the localization team, to these teams, and they get a sign up from them. Right before release, we do an actual checkpoint to make sure that everything that was signed off is actually in product. there are some tenets like privacy and stuff like that. We require evidence of existence of compliance before release. So that will be our check. This serves for two purposes. This serves in case of an issue, an outburst of a problem, somebody sues the corporation for, non-biased reviews or whatever. We are ready to present at court and go and say, here's our documentation, here's how we handle these scenarios, and here's our guidelines and the rules that we obeyed by, and here's how we done our process. To just really minimize that investigation or that PR outburst. Because when something happens, there's a big PR happens with enterprises. So everybody's talking about it, and the purpose from enterprise perspective is to close on that topic as soon as possible. So we are ready at that point. If something happened, we know our PR machine and our legal machine, how are they going to handle this and just close that gap really quick. The other thing is we make sure that we want to protect our customers, right? Like who wants to lose customers over trust issues? I'll give you an example for like enterprise grade type of work. I think in recent years, the company that I work with, Workday, has been accused publicly with being biased in their hiring recommendation. Their recommendation engine has was biased toward, let's say, under 50. So people who are over 50 in age, the recommendation engine for resumes. So when you submit your resumes and makes a recommendation for a hiring manager, it was discrediting many people who were over the age of 50, right? And that became a big backlash, turned into a lawsuit, class action lawsuit, and all this kind of stuff. I'm not part of that. This part of the business at Workday, but that caused a lot of business disruption, caused a shakeup to the stock of Workday. So when you think about it, like Microsoft, for example, did the right thing by creating these tenants. Other enterprises delayed that process for the sake of getting to the market, especially when they were very excited about like AI and stuff like that. And they loosened up on these type of stuff. So when you're thinking about enterprise walking into these traps, first, it's costly to their reputation, to their investors, to their business, and it's horrific. And that's on an enterprise level. So when you think about it as a small company, that could be the end of a small company, right? Enterprise has the machine, close these gaps. Small companies don't have the funding, don't have the tools, don't have the the legal backing, and that could literally be the end of a company if they go through a pitfall like that. So it's say learn from enterprise. They learn their mistakes by paying millions and millions of dollars in legal fees and recovering their PR. Don't do what they do. just be better. Learn the good practices that they have, and drop the bad practices that they have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great insights, Bilal. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. That's thing that we all should follow. Great. So now let's shift back to global health. Yakub, I would like to, bring you in. I personally works a lot on healthcare, and I believe that healthcare is one of the most critical areas across different industries. So let me ask you, when deploying any AI solution in public health, right? Actually, one design choice can impact millions, right? So how do you handle ethical risk in such sensitive environments? Yakub?
Yeah. So we are mainly with our efforts focusing on making the organization more effective. So we are mainly focusing on internal guts of the organization and making sure that our processes in HR, in reporting, in finance, and so on are more effective. So I'm not directly responsible for launching solutions for massive amount of people the same way WHO impacts the world with their policies and so on. We are aiming there as well in the future, but not right now, right? So what I can present to you is a case of the donor reporting I mentioned. Essentially, the main objective there was obviously to get faster because we had to lay off like half of our company due to the shortcuts due to the shorting of the budget, right? And so essentially what happened was that we needed to make the work, let's say, 10 times more effective, right? And so what we did is that we started to use AI to create it like data layer on top of all our documents, and then using RAG to source them and so on. So our main objective was speed, but we needed to make sure that the quality remained the same level of quality, same level, right? So what we did is that we made sure that we have some hard constraints um, that guarantee that whatever we do with the product, the final report, is not gonna derail anything else, any other department, any other customer. You know, it's not gonna it's not gonna
Right.
derail the happiness of the employees, right? So
Right.
essentially, um, uh, I don't know if you are familiar with the Goodhart's law, right? Where essentially this is really critical. Where when you have certain objectives with your project, what happens is that you start optimizing towards that objective, which is supposed to be your goal, so much that you essentially destroy value in other aspects because that becomes your only objective, right? So we need to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I can just name a few of the other things we were focusing on. So in terms of the surveillance, because we obviously could monitor every single behavior of the employees that they do with the system. We could rank them by their performance and so on, right? We could see the power shift where essentially their creativity would be replaced by the AI. So we needed to make sure to create some classes of actions by the AI and to make sure that there is a space for the people to
Right.
actually show their expertise, right?
Right.
There is a bias for automation where you want to actually ideally do everything, but then you are kind of losing the value of the people, right? There is um, the data drift, where purpose of data, where you are actually using the data for certain purposes, and you need to make sure that you are not revealing data in a way which we don't want to, right? So those are all objectives which we needed to implement in the architecture of the system. Just to give you some examples, which needed to be covered in order to give us what we actually want, right? So
That actually makes the importance of ethics incredibly tangible, in this particular field. So yes, thank you, Jakob. Now, now that we have explored ethics across startups, ecosystem, products, and public health, so now it's a good moment for all of us to see what responsible innovation looks like on ground. So now we'll come back to our panel discussion again after a short while. But now this segment is all about spotlighting an innovator who is actually building with ethics embedded in the core. I request Ahmed, Mehdi, Bilal, Yaqub, to act as a jury for the next 10 minutes, right? Evaluate the pitch. If and we also have our other leaders who have joined across the world to attend this pitch. I would like to now bring in Apoor from Aurva, very similar name, Apoor and Aurva, a company that calls itself your AI-powered data security co-pilot. That's the tagline on their website. And given today's topic, trust, privacy, responsibility, it couldn't be more relevant. Apoor, the floor is yours. You have roughly 8 minutes to wrap this up. You know, and just guide us through what you are building, and what you let's see your solution in action now.
Thank you, Naman. And thanks a lot, the jury or the panel here for all the valuable insights and inputs. Fundamentally, as Naman mentioned, we are building something where we are trying to help companies, build without security or privacy being a blocker. As a lot of you mentioned, right, that the ethics cannot be like an afterthought, and we do agree with that fundamentally. But then for most companies, right, they feel that, okay, like we will build or bake these things into the system later. And what ends up happening is that everything becomes too late. And that's why most of the security privacy companies are more like responsive rather than, or reactive rather than like proactive, which is how it is. Like in ideally, yes, like everything should go through a process, everything should happen. But what ends up happening a lot of time is, for example, a developer comes and says, okay, like these are the 5 different problems, let me fix this. And sometimes randomly they might be using a GPT API to kind of fix a problem, right? And that is not super clear a lot of times. So a quick background about my team. Like both me and Krishna used to work together at Meta. Krishna, my co-founder, he used to head bug bounty program for Facebook and was product security lead for Instagram. So he comes from a very like proactive security, proactive privacy, proactive ethics background. I come from AI engineering background. I used to lead data team at Meta. So I come from a very reactive background that don't become a blocker. Let me use whatever data I want and ensure that nothing is going wrong. There's no like basically misuse of things. So fundamentally, like we are in the business where we want to close the blind spot or in runtime around what is happening, what data is being used, how that data is being used, who is using that data, for what purposes it is being used, what are the different purposes for which a particular data is consumed. And those purposes also include AI as such. So yeah, we will deep dive a little bit more into AI as well going ahead, but that is kind of what we briefly solve for. So how a life cycle looks like is there's a lot of customer data that exists. The problem in larger organizations, and in fact, like any organization that has more than 10 engineers, is that there's so much data at so many places that people actually don't have clue around where that data exists. And then the bigger challenge is that, okay, like now how that data is consumed, what are the different third parties where this data is being shared, because there is a lot of third parties where the data is shared. Uh, for a simple example is, let's say if there's an e-commerce or retail organization, they would have a different vendor for billing, they would have a different vendor for shipping, they would have a different vendor for like CRM, right? So there are so many different smaller components that exist that it's hard to keep track of after a certain point of time. And then when you add the new age like browsers, the new age AI based components, it is getting out of hand really. So fundamentally, like we focus on 3 use cases. Right. I will cover 2 primary use cases and would be happy to deep dive into one of them. One is around data access and malicious behavior. So helping understand, okay, who is touching the sensitive data? What does the behavior look like? Whether there is a potential exploitation, potential abuse, potential misuse, right? So let's say if the data is supposed to be used for X purpose, it is being used for Y purpose, or let's say if there's too much like SSN download, etc., is the biggest use case that customers are using us for right now, right? So why this matters is because this actually is super helpful in terms of forensics, in terms of reactive, and basically building and helping solve for any compliance, any security incident before it actually happens, because we capture it in real time. Uh, so this is more proactive detection rather than just prevention. So that's kind of the first use case. Second use case is more around prevention, where like we help companies, detect privilege creep and ensure that only the right people, right systems have access to the right data, and remove every other access. And then the third and super upcoming use case is around the AI security. So understanding like having a complete visibility of your AI assets, what are the different agents, MCPs, models that are being used into the system, having complete AI bill of material, right? Understanding like how what are the different permissions of these AI, because generally what ends up happening is that the new age AI, like agents like Glean or even the CRM agents, etc., they have much broader permissions. They have access to a lot more data, a lot more tools, a lot more third parties, and a lot more independence than any identity, any human, any machine that has existed so far. And this access is very, very hard, or this visibility is very, very hard to get, because again, they are more non-deterministic, they have more autonomous behavior. And that's kind of what we help companies understand by monitoring the complete network and infra of a particular organization. Uh, if anyone has any questions or want me to deep dive into like any of these use cases, I would be happy to. Otherwise, I would go a little more generic and talk more about the agents, why they are different and how we do it. Just giving a very brief overview.
More quickly, you can go on and cover the
Cool.
other slides.
Was jumping into it. So again, like I wanted to talk about difference between normal Gen AI versus agentic AI. So coming from AI background, right? Gen AI, it existed previously as well in some way or the other. Uh, Earlier, it was more like deep learning models. Now it has become more LLM models, so can do the task better, but it's still like a junior engineer, which has kind of become a little bit more mature. Whereas agentic AI is like a super senior engineer whom you can give more broader tasks. So to junior engineer, you tell that, okay, like this is something, you do it. And they now LLM goes and figure out this is like how this task is done, and they complete the task. Whereas like earlier, it was more like you tell the deep learning models, okay, complete this task, this is how to do this task, and they just perform that task. And now with agents, it's more like a senior engineer where like you tell that, okay, I want this done. Like I want a complete GTM strategy, or I want that you predict my next 2 years revenue, right? So that's what agentic AI is. It's much more non-deterministic. It's much, you give them a ambiguous statement and have a lot of degree of autonomy, right? So normal LM, you give tasks like, okay, just summarize this article, right? Or analyze this data. For agentic AI, it's like, okay, analyze this data, identify trends, and then create the presentation. So it's a complete chain of command that happens.
Right.
And that's why it is very different, because now it has more autonomy. It has complete non-determinism. So agent can make autonomous calls to call different databases, different tools at different point of time. So you really don't know what is that chain of execution, what is the thought process, what
Right.
would it do, right? And that
Cool.
is why it is becoming more network centric, because now you need to understand the network to actually understand all the communication between APIs, database, and external services.
Kapur, can you just wrap it up in 30 seconds now?
Yeah, cool. I'm just wrapping it up. This is pretty much the last two slides. So the biggest gap because of agents is like invisible footprint. A lot of engineers have autonomy. They just build something, deploy something, and there's a lack of behavior. Even if you do privacy assessments or pre-hand security assessments in a lot of these places, you don't know what these behaviors would be in runtime or what these accesses would be in runtime. So there's a broken chain of causality, right? And that is what kind of we are solving for through this multi-layer monitoring around network processes and the traffic. So yeah, and we have
Oh,
is a community version of this as well, which I can share, which everyone can use it for free. So this is more like open code version.
and how old is this company, Aurva? Apurv?
So we are a 2.5 years old company working with almost 25 plus customers across Middle East, US, India, and Africa. So we have pretty much a global presence. I'm based out of Bay Area. We have a team in India as well as a presence in Middle East. So yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you for the neat pitch, Purv. And with this, we have come to our last leg of today's session, right? And we have spoken about, ideas. We have spoken about philosophy, starters, framework. Now let's talk action. And Ahmed, I would like to, bring you in for one closing remark, which I'll take from all our speakers. And also, if you have any question for Apurv, you may add on along with your answer. So, Ahmed, let me ask you, if a company, let's say any company, wanted to take one immediate practical step tomorrow to build more ethical tech, what would you recommend? What would Ahmed recommend to them?
Uh, I would definitely start with the visibility. I mean, map the human impact of your technology. Create a simple diagram that answers three questions: who benefits, who is included, and who could be harmed, even unintentionally. Once you see that picture, ethics stops being abstract. It becomes a lens you use in every design, data, and business decision. My particular advice is that make this invisible visible. Once you map the human side of your technology, every team will be incentivized to look at that. So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
A great starting point. Thanks, Ahmed. Thanks. Mehdi, from an ecosystem building lens, what's one small but meaningful step organization can take away?
I think I will build on what Brother Ahmed and Brother Bilal said, and as well what Aburv they said. So I think that when we design ethically, this is needs to be since step zero. We cannot wait until the product is ready, and then we start to implement whatever like ethical procedures. We need to implement this through the early days. And for this, probably we need to consider being like having a certain framework, a certain diagram, as Ahmed said. In my point of view, probably we will have like something where we cover the bias identification. This is where I really understand my product and how biased it could be. That's one. Number two, I would like to understand and do it's not SWOT analysis, but I would like to understand the what could be the harm scenario, what could be worst, what could happen if I release my product or this feature in the market. So I need to be aware before even release it in the market. And number three, I need to have a mitigation strategy. So if the harm happens, what I'm supposed to do. And for this, I need to implement what we call by redress mechanism, a mitigation plan, a certain closed loop, which allows me to get the feedback, probably from the community, from the users, from the expert, from the team. I get it back to my system, I fix it, and I give it back. And for Approve, I think is a very great product. So well done. And I believe this is like an API solution that it could be like probably a software as a service that you give it to the startup to implement it with the solution. Probably at the end of this, I would like to hear like a very quick sentence from him. Like you've said that you have a couple of clients, but which industry these clients are mainly. And thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mehdi. Yeah, so Mehdi, just to answer that question, like we have almost 25 customers. Most of our customers are from BFSI segment, healthcare segment, and like technology segment. And recently we have started onboarding a bunch of AI native startups or AI native companies as well, which are like very fast growing companies because to be honest, they have no clue around what OpenAI or Claude calls they are making. And that's where like they are using us. But fundamentally, most of our key revenue generating customers are from banking, finance, insurance, and healthcare
So,
segments.
allow me to say that you are probably that protection layer
Yeah.
between those startup or company or solution and agentic AI. So you allow them still to use whatever is in the market, but with
Yeah.
that protection layer to make them aware of the threats in the market.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. Now, Bilal, for products team specifically, right, including Apur. So, what's the one change they can make tomorrow that would have the biggest ethical impact? Your point of view.
Is it's a great question, and I agree with Ahmad and Mehdi and Jacob on this. This is really critical, and I really applaud you, Abu, on the product. Actually, I believe that you hit the nail on the head. When many startups are growing rapidly using AI right now, they have no clue what resources are they using. AI is taking care of a lot of ambiguous things for them, and that can get them into trouble really quick once they launch. So I really appreciate that you're actually doing this. This is really important. From like next step perspective, I feel like one thing that's really important is to get to your team or to get your team to do an ethic and anti-bias training. So they're all on the same page. What I noticed as companies grow, people come and go, they hire engineering, they hire PMs, they hire everybody from everywhere. They don't have the same understanding of what ethic means.
Yep.
Some might be more focused on things, some might be lenient on things. So train them, kind of stabilize that within your company. Ethic means this, and it's not a disputable item. It's something that everybody knows what it means, right? So that's number one important. Number two is make sure that your processes and spec review process and your audit process are well respected within your organization, because they're the line between you having a product and not having anything and possibly losing everything in your investment. So make sure that it's well respected, that the risks of being unethical practice outweighs any benefit you can have. A new feature might grant you a couple of customers. An unethical practice might cause the loss of the whole business. So that needs to resonate with the whole team. And I think that's an immediate action. Train them, set these processes, and stand by them are the three things that you need to be doing like immediately. Uh, it's not just a theoretical. I've seen many enterprises actually, including Microsoft, even at that size, at a point of time deciding no more features for the next 6 months until you get your ethics and anti-bias review done. Even at that size, they're willing to take a big hit like that to do this work. You're in an advantage. You're a small team. You are a more agile team as a founder and a startup. Do it now. Don't pay for it later.
Fantastic, Bilal. Golden words. I believe the other startups who have joined must be listening. No new features till the next 6 months, till the time you get your ethics right. Great, great, great choice of
Be
words.
agile and just make sure that you do it right. Just don't stop anything right now. I mean, you're growing, but make sure that you have these policies and you have that training. This is important. This is not a joke.
Right, right, right. With this, yeah, Jacob, I would like to bring you in public health, and large scale systems. What's the one action team should adopt immediately?
Yeah, I think the LLM observability is extremely critical. We are using currently Longsmith for this, and we are making sure that we are actually, having the correct prompts at the right time. So we are testing whether the AI is performing according to many, many aspects. It's extremely interesting how creative one can get when he analyzes with open English language anything he wants to know about the answer, the prompt, and so on. So I think it's a really interesting field, and I congratulate Apurv on having a platform in this area because I think it's really massive opportunity. Obviously, the ethical aspect is I think maybe still a little bit hard to sell, but I think as we have discussed, it's getting really important to have some kind of strategy because it can prevent you from having massive failures in the future. So thinking about the architecture, even from the ethics perspective, is essential. And so, yeah, I think the observability and the ability to track what is going on behind the scenes, because essentially you are getting to the grounds where you no longer have algorithmic precision and algorithmic predictability. You are getting to a space where anything can happen essentially, unless you have extremely good ways how to counteract the possible deviances from the main flow. So having some kind of observability is absolutely essential. Yeah.
Great closing thoughts, Jacob. Thank you. And with this, we have come to an end of today's discussion. What an amazing session we just had. And thank you so much to all our panelists. Mehdi, thank you. Thank you, Bilal. Thank you, Jakub, Ahmed, and Apur. And a big thank to Apur for showcasing what actually ethical innovation looks like in practice. And to everyone here who have joined us, thank you for being part of the conversation. I would request all our speakers to kindly drop their LinkedIn ID in the chat box because we are getting a lot of requests to connect to you. And I believe ethics by design isn't a slogan. It's a mindset, like Mehdi said, that has to show up in every discussion we make. So on behalf of the entire Open Innovator team, thank you. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thank you.